Hi, my name is Coco and you're welcome to another interesting tutorial. Today we are going to be making this very beautiful wrap blouse with the puff sleeves. It is very easy to make, so if it's something you're interested in, please do well to like this video and subscribe to my channel. So this is the fabric that we're going to be using, and I made use of 3 yards of Ankara fabric. The first thing we're going to do is to get our basic bodice block first. So I'm just going to run through this for anyone who's interested in it, and it's going to be very quick. Now I came down from the top of my paper by 1 inch to get my start line, and I'm just going to rule that across like so. So the next thing we're going to do after ruling this across is to get our overlap or our wrap extension from our center front line. And to do that, you would come out with either 3 inches, 4, 5, or 6 inches as desired. But I made use of 5 inches. So from my center front line, I'm going to come out by 5 inches. For my center front line, I came out by 5 inches, and I'm going to connect it with my ruler like so, as you are seeing on your screen right now. Please pardon the back and forth with the scissors. I'm just trying to keep my paper in place. I'm just going to connect the lines with my rulers like so and make sure it is bold for everyone to see. Then after which I would label it as my overlap extension or overlap allowance. Next thing is to make my center front line bold for clarity purposes. So I'm just going to make sure that my center front line is bold for us to see. Remember, you are to go out from your center front line by 5 inches for your overlap allowance. This wrap blouse is just a basic bodice but with an extra at the front and a little bit of alteration to get what we desire. The next step after ruling this is to label our center front line and start taking all of our vertical measurements. So we are going to start now with the length of our top, and the length of our top is 21 inches. I made use of 21 inches for the length of my top, so I'm going to mark that from the top line to 21 inches and make my lines across like so. All right, now the next thing we're going to be taking is our shoulder measurement, and your shoulder measurement is starting from the center front line. My shoulder is 16 divided by 2 is 8. I'm going to mark it there. Then I will come down from my shoulder line by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. Also, I'm making use of a standard neckline of 3 by 3 first before we alter it and change it. So I'm just going to connect my neckline to my shoulder slope as shown. Then make my neckline curve. My neckline is 3 by 3, 3 for the depth and 3 for the width. Definitely we're going to alter this and make it wider. So I just made use of this first just to get the basic bodice block ready. Next thing after doing this curve for the neckline is to get our shoulder to our waist measurement, and my shoulder to my waist is 17.5 inches. Okay, 17.5 inches. I'm going to come down from my shoulder by 17.5 and rule it across like so. Please, all your measurements are starting from the center front line. The next thing we were supposed to put down was our shoulder to the bust point. We are not going to be needing that yet. We'll use that later on in the video. Then we'll go over to our armhole depth. So from your shoulder slope, come down by whatever you use for your armhole. Me, I use 8 inches for my armhole. And I'm just going to connect it like so. This is also going to serve as my bust line. Now, I am going to go up from my armhole depth by 3 inches. That's going to give us my chest line. That's how I get my chest line for everybody. This is going to allow your armhole sit properly well on your body. And now from that chest line, I'm going to go in by 0.75 or half an inch as you may desire. Then connect that to my shoulder slope and make a straight line like so. Now to complete my armhole, before I complete my armhole curve, I'm going to take my bust measurement. My bust is 38 inches, which is 9 and nine and a half, and I'm going to mark that and add half inch of ease allowance, not sewing allowance yet, just ease allowance. Okay, then I'm going to connect my armhole curve like so. So the next measurement we are going to put down after is our waist, which is our waist divided by 4 plus half inch of ease. Then you measure wherever you want your waist to stop. You measure around it, divide that place by 4 and add half inch of ease allowance. After which I'll connect the sides from the bust line at the armhole to the waist and then to my top length, just like so. So at the length of your top, at the bottom, you're going to go up by 1 inch at the side. This is going to help you shape the sides of your blouse. So whenever you're making the blouse at the side, always go up by 1 inch or 1.5 so it will sit well on the curves of your body properly. So basically our basic bodice is done. I'm just going to label my shoulders, my chest line, my armhole line, my waistline, and my top length. The next thing we are going to do right now is to get our overlap. Now we want to determine how low we want the overlap to be and where the overlap is going to intersect with each other. This is where our bust point line comes in. Now that's my bust point shoulder to my bust point line like that. And I want my overlap to start 1.5 inches above my bust point line. I don't want it to be too open. So you determine how low you want it to be. All right. That is where I want mine to start from, 1.5 inch above my bust point line. That is where the overlap will intersect and start from. So to get going, I'm going to alter my neckline. I'm going to make it wider because this 3x3 will be too tight. So I made my neckline wider by 1 inch. So now my neckline is wider by 1 inch. Now at the bottom, for some people, you can decide to connect it all the way down to the edge of your paper. Okay, you can connect all the way down to the edge of your paper for some people. But for me, I want my strap. So now what I do is I use my strap to determine. My strap is going to be 2 inches. That's the rope I'm going to tie around. So from the hem, I'm just going to go up by that 2 inches. That space will be for my rope. Okay, that will be my rope space. Now I'm just going to connect that 2 inches from here to my break point, which is where my overlap will start from, like so. Just going to connect it. Then from that overlap point, I'm going to connect to my new neckline. So this is it. Basically, your overlap is ready. It's just a basic bodice with a little bit of extension. All right, so that is how it's going to be. That is how it's going to be in the front part of this outfit is ready. Absolutely ready. So now we are going to cut. Now it's time to cut the back. The back is very quick and easy. So as usual, I'm going to get my start line. Just come down by 1 inch from the top of your paper or your fabric to get your start line. Then from there, I am going to get my shoulder measurement. Okay, my shoulder measurement 8 inches, come down by 1 inch. Then I'm using my standard neckline of 3 by 3, but you know for the front you have extended the neckline, so I'm just going to extend it here by increasing it with the 1 inch we increase the front by. Okay, and my neck depth for the back is still going to maintain the 1 inch, so I'm going to connect the neck depth to the new neckline, which is the increase we did for the front, the 1 inch we added for the front neckline to make it wide. So from that neckline, I'm going to connect to my shoulder slope like so. The next thing I am going to do is to get my armhole depth. Same for the front. From your shoulder slope, I came down by 8 inches to get my armhole depth, which is also going to serve as my bust line. Remember, and also I'm going to get my waistline 17.5, same as the front, and my top length line, which is 21 inches, and I'm going to rule it across like so. Now to get the backline that we're going to use to get our armhole curve, I'm going to divide from my shoulder slope to my bust point into two. Okay, dividing into two, then I'm going to mark it. That is known as my backline or my across back. So I am going to go in from that line by 1/2 inch, then connect that 1/2 inch to my shoulder slope with a straight line. Now to get the armhole curve, I'm going to take my bust measurement for the back, 38 divided by 4, 9.5 plus 1/2 inch of ease. Then I'll connect my armhole curve like so. Very simple and easy. I'm going through this basic bodice process for the beginners in our midst. Now I'm going to take my waist divided by 4, add 1/2 inch of ease allowance. Also around my top length, around where you want your top length to stop, take around that place, divide it by 4 plus 1/2 inch of ease. That's what you put at that top length. So now I'm just connecting from my bust line to my waist, then down to my top length. So same as the front, I went up by 1/2 inch on the side. I'm going to just connect it like so to give my top shape. The back bodice is basically ready, absolutely ready. There is no stress for this. It is done. So what we're going to do now is to cut it out. So now you're just going to place both patterns on your fabric and then cut. Just place it on fold and cut like so. This is our pattern after cutting. Just place on fold and cut. So first of all, let's talk about the front. So I added allowances, sewing allowances around my pattern. So for that side, I added 1/2 inch round it, then 1/2 inch round the armhole. Then on the side, I added 1 inch all the way down. Then on the bottom, I added 1 inch folding allowance. Okay, so this is the front pattern. 1/2 inch on the middle, that's the center. Okay, make sure you notch that part. Then I added 1/2 inch on the armhole, then 1 inch at the side, 1 inch at the bottom for folding. So this is how our front is going to look like, just like so. So what I'm going to do next now to tidy this, I'm just going to use a bias strip for that part. Okay, I'm going to use a bias strip for that. I'm going to turn that neckline with a bias strip. I'm going to do that for the two. So now let's bring the back. This is the back. Remember that your back is going to be cut on fold. It's not open. Your back is on fold. Okay, so now I added half inch around the neckline, half inch around the armhole, 1 inch on the side, 1 inch at the bottom to fold. And this is how the back pattern looks like. So I'm going to use a bias strip to pipe that neckline too. So after using the bias, this is what we have. I used the black bias for the neckline, and also for this part, the two sides of the front, I used the black bias also, like that, leaving that 2 inches at the bottom open because we're going to sew our strip there. Can you see it? That place is open, and this is how it's going to look like once it is sewn. It's very beautiful. After turning the neckline with bias, the next thing to do is to join our shoulders. Okay, the next thing is to sew down our shoulders with 1/2 inch, and this is what it looks like after sewing the shoulders down. This is how it looks after sewing the shoulders. So now we're going over to the sleeves. So for the sleeves, you're just going to get 1.5 yard, then share it into two, like so. This is one part of the sharing into two. So just get 1.5 yard and share it into two, like a straight fabric. You are not shaping anything, you are not cutting anything. So this is it. So 1.5 yard again, share it into two. So for both armholes, both hand. Now you fold it like that into two. Fold it like this, and you notch the middle. Okay, you fold it like that, you notch the middle. That middle, you are going to place that middle on your shoulder joining and pleat it like this. Okay, you are going to place the middle you notched and place it on your shoulder joining, then pleat it like that. So this is what I was talking about. Look at your shoulder joining, then look at that middle that you notched for the strip of fabric you cut, that 1.5 yard into two. So what you do is you are just going to pleat like this, and you sew, pleat again, and you sew, pleat again, and you sew, pleat round the armhole like that. You are still going to do it for the other side. Just nice pleats. Okay, sometimes if you want something really dramatic, you can use, let's say, 3 yards. You can use as big as 3 yards. Can you see? So that is how the armhole came about, or the sleeves came about, sorry. So this is it. This is how it will look like after pleating it. Look at the pleats. Okay, just pleat it around your armhole like so. After pleating on your shoulders, you are now going to take the bottom part of the sleeve and hem it. Can you see? You hem it and you pass your elastic through like so. You're going to use your wrist measurement, and the length of your fabric, the length of this fabric I use is 22 inches, so it got to my wrist. So you're going to make sure that your wrist can pass with the elastic you put. So this is going to give your fabric volume, that's the sleeves volume. Now this is how it looks like. This is how it looks like. We're now going to take all our body measurements, our bust, our waist, and our top length measurement. So now here's the trick to achieve fuller. For your sleeve, just use only 1/2 inch to sew it. Okay, then when you get to your armhole, your bust area, you can start using the actual measurement. Don't use a big allowance to sew that sleeve. Just use 1/2 inch to sew to the sleeves. Then when you get to your armhole, your bust side, you can use the actual measurement. All right, so now this is the rope. I made a rope of 60 inches, 60 inches for the two ropes. So now you're going to add it to one side. So what we're going to do, you are seeing that part of the overlap that is underneath, the one that is underneath. Okay, the one that is going to be under, you are going to make a hole opposite the side opposite it like so. Can you see? So it can pass through. So when you sew down your, after taking a measurement, when you sew down, you're going to leave a 2 inch space so that your rope can pass. Is that clear? So that's how we got this. Look at it, it's beautiful. It's very lovely. It's fine. Your sleeves gonna have volume. I just paired it with the shorts I made for my last video. Thanks for watching, guys.